From WTVG Toledo, Bridges, with your host, Doni Miller, connecting our community with information about issues and opportunities.
Hey, good Sunday morning and welcome to Bridges. My name is Doni. Well, the topic today is indeed a provocative one. We're talking about how to stay alive while being black, and we're specifically targeting this discussion toward young black men in this community, Toledo, Ohio. Obviously, if you haven't heard about the Trayvon Martin case, you need to know about the Trayvon Martin case. There's a picture of Trayvon on the screen. His murder has prompted worldwide rebellion, marches, discussion about the issue of profiling young black men. Violence in the black community is at epidemic proportions. We are, in fact, losing a generation of black men to violence. And we're talking today not specifically about what happened to Trayvon, but what we can learn from Trayvon's experience. This is, in fact, a discussion in terms of a cautionary tale for all black boys who are living in this country today. And I want to welcome our guests, three very learned men on this subject, three men who have been actively involved in the forefront of discussions around this Trayvon Martin case. We have Pastor Charles McBee. He is the pastor of Family Baptist Church, first time guest here. Thank you so very much for coming. We have Albert Earl Jr. You know Albert Earl. He's been here before from that great volunteer group Village 50, out there working with the kids every single day, actually walking that talk. Thank you so very much for lending your voice to this discussion.
Thank you.
And of course, Cedric Brock. Cedric is the pastor of Mount Nebo Baptist Church, and also a prior guest on Bridges, yes, and very active in pulling together one of the premier, yes, I think, marches around this particular issue, Trayvon's issue.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
So, you're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. So, we know that George Zimmerman has been charged with second-degree murder. We know that he continues to protest that charge, saying that he was, in fact, attacked by this young man. Nobody knows exactly what the real details are around that incident, but we will certainly find out. How do you think, however, just given where this country is in this discussion right now, how do you think this issue has affected young black boys?
Caution. It's making us think about it. Our next step, I think it brings about a self pride of who you are. It's one not just black, but as a young person, because you see a lot of rappers who may be white, who may do what they do, wear what they wear, but especially the young blacks. And it brings about a togetherness, awareness.
You think?
Speaking about it to each other.
Well, if nothing else, I think that it's also sparked conversation,
right,
sparked dialogue,
right,
but not only between the community, but between young people and their parents, because now critical questions are being asked, whether or not, what do I do? Who am I? Why are we being targeted? Those types of things.
You think there's a sense of being targeted, Pastor?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes, I think being targeted, being profiled, being selected, being picked out has been something that's been a part of our community for years. And so now this incident has raised a level of awareness unparalleled to anything since the 60s, where now it's being challenged. But it has to be challenged in a way that is not just simple marches, not just yelling and screaming, not just emotion,
absolutely,
but we need to look at the system, because freedom is our right. To be equal, to be a part of society, that's their God-given right.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. One of the things, I'm sorry.
I think on the flip side of that, it also invoked the conversation between us that's been avoided,
right,
in terms of the violence that we commit to one another.
Right.
Say more about that.
I think, well, if you're on any social media, there's been questions by many, including myself. I said, well, where is the anger in the marches for all the other Trayvons that came before Trayvon Martin that was killed by another African American person? we don't show that type of anger. We're not coming together when it's us that's doing it. So that has started that conversation. I think that's a conversation that's much needed, because Jesus told us, why try to take the speck out of one person's eye when you have a plank in your own? You have to look at it from that standpoint.
That's pretty brave, quoting scripture between
Right
two ministers, but I like that. I like that.
Preach to us.
That's right. But you know, that is such a good point. Because the violence that happens that we hear about most often is black against black crime.
Yes.
That's and we tend to kind of lay back on that a little bit.
But that's been going on since we were slaves. We look
But
through the
doesn't that
history
make it
books.
worse?
Yes, it does. It makes it worse to the fact that we don't respect each other. And we're not going to be able to come out of the box until we learn how to do that. We have to learn to work together, play together, and reach goals together in life. And we don't do that. But our point here with the Trayvon case is that we need to understand and know that there is some things that we need to be cautious about and be careful, as Pastor McBee and as Robert Earl has stated, and that we have to stay on the line and be aware of what's of our surroundings.
That's right. That's right.
You know, one of the things that has come up a lot in this discussion is the fact that he was that black boys are profiled. The hoodie and the black hoodie and the black jeans and the black tennis shoes, and so you've got this kid walking around covered up. But I was talking to Pastor McBee, and I said, I don't know doesn't every generation have its thing?
Right.
It does. Every generation
I remember
will have something. We can just go back a few years. Dating myself. We can go back a few years and look at when pagers first came out. All of a sudden, pagers became one of the profiles for drug paraphernalia.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, everybody had a pager. Then it was okay.
Right.
Then it was a cell phone. Cell phone. If you had a cell phone, you must be conducting some type of business or doing something illegal. Then all of a sudden, when the rest of society caught up and everybody had a cell phone, then it wasn't a problem anymore.
Right.
And so it moves from thing to thing. It used to be the hats, if the hats were turned sideways or if the hat was turned backwards. Now it's the hoodie. Now it's, those types of things. So anybody can pick anything and profile it or call it a profile and start to pick on someone. We have to stop there and say, wait a minute, just because this kid wears a hoodie doesn't make him a bad person. Just because they wear a certain tennis shoe doesn't make them a bad person. So profiling, yes, it's out there, it happens, it exists, but we must address what we can do to turn that around.
Absolutely, and as you and I were speaking, I remember, I am not going to tell you the date of this particular, because that truly would be dating myself, and I don't intend to do that, but I remember having a fro that was out to here, and black turtleneck sweaters and khaki pants, and that was the uniform of the day. That was the uniform of the day. But now that has really turned into something deadly for these kids, I think.
But blacks aren't the only ones wearing hoodies.
That's right.
Why is it deadly? Why did it become deadly?
I think it's deadly because the media, when you look at videos, and you got to remember, a lot of people who might not have contact with African American youth on a regular basis, they learn about our life through videos, even if it's make believe. And we were just talking about it in the lobby. A lot of our kids are acting so robotic, they all wearing the same thing. You can't tell a straight A student from the gang member based on what they're wearing.
That's a good point.
But we also do profiling in our neighborhoods, because if I put on all red and walk through a neighborhood that's full of Crips, then I'm going to be presumed to be a blood, or vice versa.
Right.
So it's going on because I believe a lot of it, again, we haven't addressed, and we refuse to address the same stereotypes that we do within our own community. We stereotype kids. A lot of kids say, I got to tell my sons constantly, pull your pants up, because that's the uniform of the day.
Right.
But if somebody else sees them, and these guys are college-bound young men, if somebody else sees the way that they're dressing, they're going to presume that they're part of something.
Well,
you
keep taking us back to the place where the responsibility for managing this violence, the responsibility for managing these stereotypes lies in large part with the black community.
I strongly believe that.
Strongly believe that.
Yes.
What should this community be doing?
I think one of the first things when we was talking about the article, I think one of the first things that we need to start teaching our young men is how to engage in conversation with one another, and they need to start showing the world that they love one another. We can no longer allow the world to see us as enemies, like we hate one another, especially over the things that we claim. If you look at some of the neighborhoods they live in, what are you really claiming? Is this what you find valuable? Because it's not valuable to the rest of the world.
I think it's even more basic than that. I think it goes back to a communication between the family, between talking to parents and having a meaningful dialogue and having a relationship. Because if we look at the family over the years, the family has become broken, it's splintered, it's fractured, all of those things, and everything that we can look at in society seems to attack the family structure.
Oh yeah.
And so kids are raising kids, the streets are raising them, and so we've lost a sense of, first of all, family pride. We've lost, secondly, identity as to who we are, the direction that we're going in or trying to go in.
That's right.
And so once we start building those things, and then because I can't relate to you until I know who I am, I'm still trying to figure out, what's going on in my life.
This comes up so much on the show. We're going to have to go to break, unfortunately, but this comes up so much on the show, the importance of family. We talk about it, but I don't see us as a community understanding how to change it. I don't see us understanding how to change it. When you look at pregnancies to unwed mothers in our community, it's still really high, better than it used to be, but still very, very high. You look at violence, you look at divorces, you look at all of those things. We are suffering in our community from a lack of what seems to be a moral center. I'll use that term, although I'm a little bit uncomfortable with it. We are lacking with what seems to be a moral center. I'm going to say that. You think about that for a minute. We're going to come back and talk about some rules for survival if you're black in America. We're going to go away for just a second, but we'll be right back. Hang tight.